Okay, this one's not blooming per se, but just so all of you orchid addicts or soon to be orchid addicts, you'll understand this. So this has no tag. I have no idea what it is. I mounted it on a piece of wood. The roots have taken it over just like it would in nature. This is how it would grow in nature. But look at these little, look, what's it gonna be? What's it gonna look like? I don't know. I have no idea. It is gonna be a surprise because there's no tag. It's happy, it's healthy, it's got some blooms coming. So if you're lucky, I might do a video and let you know what these turn out to be. I'm teasing you. Okay, this one just popped open. Very pretty. It is, oh man, I don't have a tag for it. Are you serious? I'm sorry, I have no tag. So we'll just call it, the scientific name is the orangey reddish flower. But it has lots of them. Happy plant. I'm telling you, really, it just comes down to enough light, enough water. And food is important, but enough light, enough water, right temperature. Right temperature, it needs to be hot. I mean, these things just bloom. Like, it's really not that hard. People make it sound like orchids are so hard. It's just, I mean, you have to water. That's the big thing. I know watering every day sounds like an insane task, but if, you know, drink your coffee, spray them down, it's not that hard. Now, when I say that, remember, everything I have basically is mounted. Like, I don't have stuff in pots much. So if you have everything in pots and you live in Virginia, do not water every day. You're gonna kill every one of your orchids. But if you live in Florida and you have everything mounted where they're hanging and have almost no media, right? I mean, there's almost nothing in here except a clay pot. Then watering them every day or every other day is gonna create this paradise. It's just the reality of it. So I hope you, hello, here's another happy orchid. This is, it's a Dendrobium Roy Takanawa. All right, so this is a, oh, I can't remember the kind, it'll come to me. Anyway, it lasts forever. This is the longest lasting bloom. Well, maybe the hard cane Dendrobium is more, but this has an incredibly long lasting bloom. This plant has gone crazy. I mean, this is just a couple years old since I got it. But it is really cool. Very unique flowers, lasts forever. It's basic care, you know, keep it, you know, not moist, but wet. No, not wet. You know, not dry, not wet. Whatever the middle of those two things are. I put some slow release fertilizer in it. I fertilize it when I water, and it is happy. Real quick, here's one of the exact same kind, right? So they come in somewhat different versions, but they're all basically the same. Okay, so this is an undulata. Yes, Laelia undulata alba. It is yellow, it's really long, it's really cool. It really is the same as Cattleya, Schomburgkia. I think it used to be called a Schomburgkia. Here's a good hard cane Dendrobium. I see this at a lot of stores, so you may actually be able to find this one. It's Dendrobium chocolate antlers. So this chocolate antlers, I find, grows like crazy, and the plant grows very big. And I mean, the orchids, I mean, the flowers aren't like fantastic, but they're cool. Antelope style. They're not like a brilliant color, kind of like brownish orange. But I mean, this goes all the way back here. There's probably over 100 flowers on this thing. But the key with hard cane dendrobiums, very hot, very humid. I would really, really like to take credit for this thing. It is gorgeous, but I didn't. I can't pronounce it either. Rhinostylus, well, whatever. Starts with, it's R-H-Y something. Rhinostylus, it doesn't matter. Well, it does matter, but you can figure it out yourselves. I did not grow this. It was grown by the Vanda Man, Tony the Vanda Man, who is indeed the man. If you type in the Vanda Man in YouTube, you will meet him, and he is masterful at growing these things. I mean, he grows plants that I have never seen before. These, I thought you're supposed to treat just like a Vanda because it looks like a Vanda, because it has roots like a Vanda, but you don't. You still water it like a Vanda, but it requires much less sun. So the sun would be like half the amount of sun as a Vanda, because Vanda's like tons of light, like tons of bright, direct light, but not direct sun. These guys, what happens is, if you do that, they look all brown and spindly and gross, and they still have flowers, but they don't look anything like this. I mean, this is ridiculous. So, rhinocyclus? I don't know. It smells spicy, a little different. All of them bloom this time of year, and I find the blooms don't last that long. They last definitely not as long as Vandas, and they only bloom one time a year. And I have like 5 of them, and I don't think I'm gonna buy any more because they only come in a few colors, and the smell isn't great, and it only blooms once a year, and they're hard to grow. There you go. The Dendrobium nobile, the one orchid that I cannot figure out. So please, out there, give me some tips. So supposedly you don't water these in the winter, and then in the spring they have these cascading flowers that last forever, and they're pretty, and I end up with like barely anything, and the ones I do have, they barely last at all. I cannot figure these things out. I've heard from some people now that you are supposed to water them in the winter as well, even though everyone says you're not. If it's hot all winter, like it isn't here, you have to water it then as well. I'm doing something wrong. For years I've been trying to grow these things. I've had no success, but a lot of people, like literally, this is like their favorite kind of orchid. Dendrobium nobile, N-O-B-I-L-E. Look it up. Most orchid places have it. A lot of light. It's supposedly just water in the summer, and spring. And I don't know. I don't have that many culture tips because they always look like crap. I mean, look at this thing. That's not fun. Oh, look at this bad boy. I have a purple one. You can see it back there. It's the same thing, just in a different color. The story with this one, I've had this for years. It was all rotted out. It was not doing well. It looked terrible. I went on my Florida orchid group on Facebook and said, what the heck's going on? And they said, because it used to be in this big pot, like big pot. And basically the center of the pot never dried out. And this is how a lot of older orchids die, is just the mass of roots and everything. In the middle of it, it starts to rot out. So what I did, as you can see, is I cut off everything except like 2 or 3 inches. I literally, like the pot was down here, and I just went, shoot. I just cut right there. And this was just a year ago. Put it on a wood cookie, and it's okay now. It worked. Whatever I did worked. So if you have a really big orchid and it's not doing well and it's kind of sad looking, and there's a chance that the middle of it is rotting, and the only way you can really make an effort to save it is to cut out everything that's rotting, which oftentimes is like almost the entire plant. Pretty. It's a floofy Cattleya. So I've learned something with this one. It smells really good. So if you let these things like bloom and grow, but let the actual, like the growth, the spike kind of go like this over the edge of the basket, what ends up happening is the flowers end up like pointing down. And then to pull them back up again, like using a tie or whatever, they don't like that. And sometimes you break them and they just never look right. So I think the idea is to stake them as they're growing, right? Wait, let me give you a good example of that. Okay, I already showed you this particular orchid, which is so cool. But what happened was, I let the spike kind of grow like this, and then when the flowers grew, the flowers were all hanging down like this, which looked cool, except for the fact that the flowers were so heavy that it actually broke the spike, which shows you how highly genetically hybridized these things are, because you would never find this in nature, because it doesn't make any sense. Like if this evolved naturally to a point where the flowers broke off because the flowers were so heavy, it makes no sense from an evolutionary perspective. So these were just bred over and over and over to make these huge flowers to the point where they break under the weight of themselves. So what I did for the next spike that's coming up is I put a little spiky, not a spiky, a stick. That's not a right word. A stick? What the heck do you call that thing? A stake. That's a stake is what that is. So I staked it up, and hopefully this next one will bloom a little more under control and happy. Very pretty. Very, very fragrant. Very fragrant. One of the most fragrant ones I have. This is the name. It might be a species. What I'm running into is I'm starting to realize that a lot of these orchids are mislabeled. So if you know what this thing is, and if it's not this, let me know. But it's spotted, it's a cattleya, it's happy. It's mounted on a piece of wood. The roots have taken it over. I water it every day because the roots, you know, dry out right away. It's working. It is a happy cattleya. This I really like. It's really unique. It's really pretty. Look at that thing. Very cool. There's a bunch on this spike, a bunch in this one. Hopefully this tag is right, if you can read that. I have nothing to say about this except it's probably my favorite one blooming right now because it is just really pretty and unique and happy, and it's in a plastic basket, which I'm starting to like more and more because I will literally never repot this again, ever, 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 because there's almost no media in it. It's just roots, and the roots will start to cascade down. Anytime you repot this stuff, is it sets them back. Like, it's impossible. You're gonna make them upset. It doesn't matter how careful you are, when you do it during the time of year. It seems like I can't help but upset them.